football time in Tennessee. It's hard to believe. Very, very fast summer, very productive summer, but as you can imagine, everybody's excited to get going, and there's a little bit of bounce in everyone's step, energy, players coming in. They actually report around 2:30 today, but just again, excited to get going. And I know there's been much talk and discussion and dialogue about the new format for college football and training camp with no two-a-days and 1 day off per week. That really doesn't affect us too much. We wanted to take full advantage of the waiver to start early. However, it is a build-up process going from practice one throughout the course of training camp, and coupled with our mandatory 1 day off a week, we'll still also incorporate what we've done for a number of years now, where there'll be a day during the week also that we won't practice, and it'll be more of a mental day in the weight room, so we can continue to make the gains in the weight room that we need to make. So making sure that we take full advantage of our practice opportunities, but for the most time we'll practice 5 out of 7 days, and we're going to go for 3 days and then take a mental break and do what we need to do. So we have to make sure we get everything that we need to get accomplished every time we step on the grass and onto the practice field. The other thing when I talk about the build-up is we have to be able to start fast, have our health, and be game ready game one. And having 3 games in 13 days, I don't know if that's ever been done. If it has, it hasn't been done quite often. So we've tried to research everything from the Canadian Football League, how do they handle time off during the course of the week, getting your players back mentally, physically, from what will be a very taxing 13 days. So we've really tried to put a lot of emphasis on that. In terms of the off season, you all have spoken about it. Really looking forward to taking the off season to the practice field in the gains that we've made in the weight room. And it should be the most competitive camp that we've had. As y'all know, the greatest motivator is that of playing time. So we're excited about that. And it's not just the quarterback battle that'll be extremely competitive. I think it's 9 position groups across the board that should be extremely competitive. Just to give you a recap on our strength in our summer, and then I'll go into answering questions you may have. Significant progress during the summer months from a strength standpoint, a power standpoint, a muscular size standpoint, but also from a confidence standpoint as well. And we gave our players 2 days off the last 2 days and still in the weight room, and I think that comes from confidence that they have. They could feel their bodies changing. Your body's your asset, and I think they really feel good about where they're at. We have 21 players on our team that can power clean 300 plus pounds, which we've never had that before. We have 10 players over our team that have squatted 500 pounds or more. And the exciting thing is we have team records in the weight room. We have 64 different players whose names will be on that board. And of those 64 different players, 15 of those are true freshmen. So that's exciting as well. I think our true freshmen have come in. I think it's elevated the level of competition, but really been excited to see the leadership that has formed from our older players of really developing our freshmen into our culture, into our style, and into our expectations. So I'll answer any questions you all may have.
I'll call him again. John?
Butch, have you changed agents?
Yes, I have, and that's something that happens in this profession. And so yes, I have.
Who's your new guy?
Represented by CAA and Jimmy Sexton.
Questions? Blake?
Coach, some of the new assistants like Hope, Canales, Wells have really done great on the recruiting trail. Is that something you were specifically looking for in naming those guys, or is that just an added bonus?
That's one of the profiles we look at, and to me, coaching and getting your players to play at a high level and recruiting, it goes hand in hand, because it's being able to develop and form and build relationships. And obviously those individuals are great people of character, they're people oriented, so that has really helped, and I think you see that in the recruiting right now, but also in our players and their overall demeanor and the ability to want more, but at the end of the day, it's all about relationships.
Rhiannon in the back and then Vince.
Hey, Butch, when we were talking to coordinators, Bob Shoup specifically said that a key this year would be developing more depth. What are you guys going to be doing differently that you hadn't done in previous seasons to accomplish that?
Well, first of all, it starts in recruiting. Is the way you first of all develop depth is in the recruitment process, and having another year to bring more players in at certain positions. And it's like managing a business. You're going to bring in X amount of players at every position every year, and you're always looking for that competitive depth. So I think it starts in the recruiting process and over time, and then the development of your players. And you can't really underestimate sometimes the value of being able to redshirt an individual. You look at Darrell Taylor and what we were able to do. You look at Kendall Vickers now being a fifth-year senior and having the ability to redshirt him when he came in here as a true freshman. And that's, when you look at the successful long haul of programs, it's about developing your players. And so again, I think some of these individuals have really aided now being older players and being able to redshirt. As we all know, some develop more than others, but I think the big thing is the competitive depth that Coach Shoup is talking about. That starts in recruiting, that starts in development. And I think, again, it's every player understanding that your opportunity is going to come, and you never know when that opportunity is going to present itself. And you have to treat yourself like you're a starter, and you may be getting limited reps in practice, but you never know when your time's going to come. And when that time comes, you have to take advantage of it. And that'll, be the constant theme throughout the course of training camp, but also through the season. You may be playing very limited snaps, game 1, game 2, game 3, and then all of a sudden game 4, you're thrust into a starting position. And where's your mindset? Were you preparing as though you were a starter? And I think sometimes that's based off of maturity of a football team as well.
Coach, hopefully you can give some examples here in the middle. Hopefully you can give some examples. In what areas have you evolved or improved as a head coach in your time at Tennessee?
I think you have to improve in all areas, not just one area. And as much as when the season goes and you step back and you evaluate your program and where it's at, it starts first and foremost with myself as the caretaker of Tennessee football. I think, for us, constantly evolving in terms of development of your players, developing in all aspects, not just on the football field. I think the ability to relate, as we all know, we're getting older, but the people that we deal with never get older. They stay the same age. They're 17 to 22 years old. So I think never losing grips on that communication aspect, and I think surrounding your players with people that are going to help them grow and develop in all facets. And I think being able to be hard on yourself. I think also this place is very challenging, blocking out the outside noise and the clutter and the distractions. And I know what we're building here. I know what we built here, and not let anyone take you off course of that. And I think not only for me personally, but for the program in general, from the coaching staff to the players. So I think just, the overall thing is constantly evolving and evaluating yourself and how could we do things different. I evaluate myself after every day. When I lay down at night, I keep a journal. Okay, if I had the day to do all over again, what would we do all over again? What could we do better? And then you have to get up and you have to apply it to the next day.
We'll go Brent, Patrick Brown, Mike Griffin.
Butch, translating summer into fall, you mentioned starting fast. Two things. One, injury-wise, anything of note? And two, how much do you anticipate the passing game being in a better rhythm early because of some of your summer work?
Yeah, we've put a lot of effort, obviously, into the passing game, and each team is different. The dynamics are different, the makeup's different. That's why it's Team 121. And we're going to have to play an inordinate amount of youngsters, especially on the perimeter, in terms of the wide receiver position, possibly at tight end. We all know about the running back situation. And we have some individuals competing every single day in the back end of our defense. We got to find out about our linebackers. So there's a lot that goes into it. And we thought, met with our older players and really talked about the dynamics of improvement over the summer, what we needed to do, what we needed to accomplish, and then trust their maturity in your program to be able to do the 7-on-7 drills and all that. And obviously coaches can't be present for that. So it'll be the first time that tomorrow that I'm able to see our rhythm and our timing and our spacing of our throw game. So again, when I said I'm excited to take the off season to the practice field, that's one of the elements that I'm looking forward to is seeing how far we progressed with those small details in the throw game. Brent, in terms of injuries, there's 4 individuals I wanted to talk about. Chance Hall right now is getting a second opinion on his knee, so he'll be limited. I'll know probably a little bit more on his situation at the end of the weekend. And then Daniel Batuli and Darren Kirkland starting off will be very, very limited. So that's going to be an opportunity for individuals at the linebacker position to really get quality reps early in camp. Then we all know, we've talked a lot about Shy Tuttle. The encouraging thing is Shy will be available for individual drills and some different things, bag drills and movement drills. And for us, we just have to address his progress each and every day and make sure we don't put too much, because I know he's eager, but we'll continually evolve through training camp with all these individuals. But those are the 4 individuals right now, when you all come out to practice on Saturday, that will be very limited. Everyone else is full go.
Butch, you kind of touched on the freshmen and what some of them have done in the summer, and you kind of just mentioned where they might be needed. As what they've shown so far since arriving on campus, that surprised you and the coaching staff at all? And I guess what's a reasonable expectation for how many of them can make have a role in this team?
Right. It doesn't surprise me because we really tried to do, as every year, our due diligence in recruiting and recruiting to our profile. But I think what has happened is a lot of the older players have been invested in their recruitment to come to Tennessee. And a lot of these relationships weren't just one-year relationships, unofficial visits. It was a period of time, sometimes 2 and 3 years. So I think them coming in here, they respect the success that our older players have had, and they've sat back and kind of let them lead them. But also I see leadership within the ranks. We do a profile of every individual. We have a group in town that comes in and does an assessment of their profile and their makeup. And what we found with this recruiting class is most of them have dominant personalities and dominant traits. And the most we've ever had in a recruiting class. So now we have to be able to take those dominant traits and steer them in the right direction and all that. And the makeup is something that Coach Summit used to do with her basketball teams. And when we had spoken, she talked about that was one of the areas that she thought really helped them win. And I took that from her, one of our many conversations. And again, we're very fortunate to have a company in town that is able to provide that with us, and it's helped us.
Mike, Rob Lewis, Patrick Murray.
A couple questions, Coach. One, just on the follow-up at who will start out number 1 at Mike with Darren Kirkland Jr. out, and then 2, I want to ask you about the offensive personality and some of the things that you're doing off of what Josh Dobbs said when he got to the Steelers, and he said how similar the Tennessee offense was to a pro offense. Can you talk about those similarities?
Yeah, we pride ourselves in having, a pro-style system in terms of terminology, systems, schemes, all that. And, every football program has their own vernacular. It's like learning a brand new language, but the concepts, the reads, the progressions, a lot of times that does not change. So we pride ourselves in having an NFL-ready system where, it's a true pro style, and everyone uses the term spread and West Coast offense, and it's really, in your own mind, what is the true definition of those? And we've always been a pro style offense everywhere we've been in terms of the schemes and the combinations, the reads for the quarterback, the progressions, and the way they're taught and the way they're coached on a daily basis. One of the most rewarding things I had is one of our former coaches was at Eagles practice, and they were watching practice, and they send me a picture, and there's Derek Barnett early in the meeting room with his notebook out. And, you know, to me, when we talk about those things of your culture and your expectations, you know, it's when these individuals go off to the NFL, how are they different? How are they better because they were a part of your football program? And I believe that that'll be their edge. And, you know, I know talking with all the coaches over the summer, they're excited about our guys. In terms of the mic rotation, obviously we have the great thing is we've had a lot of individuals who played football there. And Cortez McDowell has really done a good job in terms of changing his body. I mean, he looks like a completely different person. He's really dedicated himself to eating the right things, going in the weight room. Obviously, Colton Jumpers played a lot of football for us. You know, having Q sat back is going to be important. Elliott Berry returns from the injury as well. So that should be a very, very competitive battle, and every rep's going to be critical for those individuals. So we have individuals that have played football there, having Dylan Bates back as well. So we'll see. They're going to have an opportunity to really have a great opportunity with some of these individuals out for the start of camp.
Coach, you talked about the competitive situation all over the field, offensive line. I think you've got 8 guys that have made starts there. Can you just sort of address how you'll handle that in fall camp with so many experienced players, and any of those guys really stand out for what they did in the offseason?
Gotta love it, don't you? Competitiveness brings out the best in individuals, and I tell you, that group, along with all of our position groups, they've really done a great job of embracing the competitive spirit. And again, it's just, you're responsible for what you create on a daily basis. So we'll monitor. To me, it's not who runs with the first team, who runs with the second team, who runs with the third team. What it is all about reps. And we'll have a rep count on every single player in our program. And it's not just the team reps, but it's the individual reps that are being looked at. It's, the meeting rooms, it's the retention of information, it's the style of play. And to me, the biggest makeup of that is it's your consistency in performance every day. Are you the same person every day? And I think when you're locked into a competitive battle, that's what it's about. And having, our players back from the NFL mini camps, and they're talking to our players, and you have a few of them talking in, and every day they're anxious and about walking into that locker room and making sure that their nameplate is still up on the locker. And those are all things that we talk about from a competitive structure. I think that's where, the players that have gone on have helped our players as well. But, in the offensive front, we have a number of individuals that have played. And for us, it's finding the 5 that are ready made. But as we know, I don't look at it as a starting 5. I look at it as basically a starting 10. And so we'll mix around some starting combinations, some different things at different position groups, some different lineups, and see which works well for us. I think the other thing too, in the development of our offensive line, is getting the health back of our defensive line. We have to be able to block Khalil McKenzie. That's going to help out a lot. Kendall Vickers, all those individuals. And we talk about competitiveness, it's not just at position groups, it's interpositionally. When we do interpositional work, being able for those two to go against, Trey Smith needs to block Khalil McKenzie. All those things, when you look at the competitive structure of your football team, it's not just on each side of the ball, it's interpositionally as well.
Patrick Murray, Dan Parker, Graham Randy.
Butch, what are a couple of the biggest questions that you have that you want your team to answer during camp?
Well, first thing we talk about is just overall consistency. It's excited to be excitable about practice number 1 and practice number 2, but how's this football team and its leadership going to be when you get through the grind of training camp and it's practice 18 and it's practice 16, and you need your leadership, and you're tired mentally and physically, and that's where your toughness comes into play. So I think just the overall level of consistency day in and day out, getting back to what we have focused on since the inception of this football team is details, accountability, and toughness. And one of the things, we talk about simplifying the message. If I went in this room and I asked everyone's definition of details, every single person in this room would probably have a different definition of details. everyone would have a different definition of accountability and toughness. So we really tried to define those things for our football team, and these are 2 or 3 elements of each of what we're looking for. So I think just consistency in competitive depth, seeing which freshman's going to be able to help us. When you have 3 games in 13 days, you're going to have to rely on the depth of your football team. And then I think also special teams performers. We take great pride in playing great special teams around here. 2 years ago, we were top 5 in the country in just about every aspect. Last year, we weren't quite as proficient as we need to be. So getting back to also, we're going to play great special teams here as well.
Coach, obviously, player safety has evolved over the years, but it doesn't seem like training camp's anything like Junction Boys, like it was several decades ago. If you can kind of compare what training camp looks like in 2017 to what it did when you first started your coaching career.
Not even close. We'd have 3 days. 2 of them would be in full pads, and the other practice would be in shells. And it was a grind, and I think we've come so far in the evolution of player safety with everything that goes on. We even have time demands from going from a walkthrough to when you can go out to practice. Not only do they have the structure of their 1 day off per week, but throughout an academic calendar, they have 14 additional days off that have to be approved by the players. So there's so much that has gone on to really changing the dynamics of where we are now and where we were. It's not even close.
Right. Which, when you think back to fall camp last year, what were the biggest changes you wanted to make this year? Did the 2 days off and the kind of the mental break, did that go into anything you did last year and just trying to evolve?
Yeah, we didn't have the players' day off. The only thing that's really required on a player's day off now that you can is breakfast, lunch, dinner. You can have 0 team activities. So that's the only thing. And then the mandatory medical treatments that they need. That's the only thing. You can't have a speaker come in. You can't have anything arranged. So we did not do that, but we've always taken one day off per week where it was a mental break, and we just focused on the weight room and we focused on the mental aspect of it. So really not much has changed. The biggest change, like I said, is the 1 day off per week. We have changed a little bit in terms of our practice structure, of the daily structure, in terms of the walkthrough, and what we're trying to experiment a little bit is very rarely will our players actually go from a position meeting out to the field for practice. And we talk about your mental stamina and all that, and a lot of times mental fatigue kicks in as well. So just trying to change things up that way and try to get the most of each and every day.
Marshall and then Austin.
Coach, you got a unique game coming up, in week 1. How much time do you dedicate with the defense, stopping that triple option? Secondly, Darren Kirkland Jr. being limited, how important is it to get him back in the huddle? He's had a lot of injuries lately, just him being, such a big leader on the defense. How important is that?
Well, it's very important, to our defense to get Darren out there. And to Darren's credit, he's working overtime in the rehab part of it, in the training room, and he's probably about a week to week and a half ahead of kind of the structure that we had set for him, and that's a byproduct of his work ethic. But I think for him to get out there and continue to earn the respect of his peers and his teammates and get back out there, we need to get him back out there. I know he's anxious to get back out there. We just talked the other day about it, and he's doing everything in his power, and I expect by the second week of camp, he should be ready to go full go out there. So that is important. And I think the other thing, when we talk about consistency, is on defense, everybody's tied to a string, and everyone has responsibilities. And so I think the more repetitions you can get with 11 individuals working out there as one, we talk about team defense, understanding and knowing where your help is, how to leverage the football, all those things. And it's just like, to me, it's just like a quarterback throwing to a wide receiver. You develop that trust, you develop that timing, for making the calls that you have to make, all those things. So it's going to be important for us to have consistency out there with 11 individuals working collectively as one. In terms of Georgia Tech, great challenge. Very, very talented football team, best O-line that they've had, I believe, since they've been there. We all know the many issues and edge that they have in which they play with. And we're going to have to play complementary football. Our offensive players have to know they're probably going to have 40 snaps in the game. That's it. So what we're used to, we get 40 snaps in a half. Now we're going to get 40 to 45 snaps in an entire game. So I think not just for the defense, I think it's for all three phases of understanding complementary football and how that's going to work in this game. I think that's the biggest thing, but it is a great challenge because you have to implement your base defense that you're going to use 11 out of the 12 weeks. So you have to get that in, then you have to completely change your entire mindset of getting ready for something entirely different scheme that we're going to play, all those things, and then kind of go back and forth. And so we'll never mix and match with our preparation with Georgia Tech, where we'll have 15 periods of base defense and then 3 periods of preparation in Georgia Tech. So we have days scheduled where all of our emphasis will be just on Georgia Tech. And it'll be a great challenge.
Austin will be the final question.
Butch, Aaron Medley's not been pushed too much the last few years from a depth standpoint. To have Brent Sigmall on the roster to push him, how much does you feel like that can help Aaron with the competition aspect of kicker?
Again, competition is extremely healthy, and you know what? It's going to be a great contest. It's going to be a great competitive battle, and I think Aaron will be the first to tell you it's elevated his game and his level of consistency that's needed, not just from field goals and extra points, but also from the kickoff game as well. As part of being a great kickoff coverage football team is the hang time on your kickoff and the placement of the football. So again, when I talk about it being the most complete camp in terms of a competitive structure, the specialists, fall right into that realm, just like the quarterbacks and everyone else.
Thank you.
Have a great day. See you on Saturday.